AI is not going to save your business. Everybody asks me about AI. They be like, hey, yo, how do I put AI in my business? I want to get this AI gold rush. There's millions of dollars in AI. And the problem is that people are thinking about AI in the wrong way. First is that there's two types of things that happen with AI. You're in the AI business, which is, you're doing LLMs, you're actually like in the AI business, right? Or you're using AI inside of your business. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you're not in the AI business, if you're not creating LLMs, if you're not ChatGPT, if you're not, or using a wrapper around the business, which still needs the business fundamentals, right? Which still needs the business fundamentals, because you still have to go back to processes, documentation. If you're not there, then this is what you want to think about putting AI in your business. Now, I'm going to go through all these steps. First, before I start, my name is Clyde Morrison. Of course, I run my own local business. And I just want to I'm just here talking about what I've learned in my business as I've been documenting, working with other business owners, talking about putting in processes, documentation, and AI. All right. So I'm going to start out with the wrong thinking. This is where what we were talking about just now is what people think about. Most founders, they think they need either more employees, they need more apps, kind of software, automation, or AI. They start thinking about these things. And they have a term for it, the psychosis of AI, right? Where people are like, I need AI. And they start going down these rabbit holes of ChatGPT, automations, and they watch all these tutorials. These guys who are selling you AI, who are like, and they keep you confused. ChatGPT just came out. Claude just came out, and who's better, and the index of rankings. And you get caught up with that, and then you're not focused on your actual business fundamentals, which actually get there. A new app comes out, and you're like, oh, I need to switch over my entire program over to this new thing. And you waste more time with migration than you do. Or I need to hire an employee, but you don't have processes in place. And you hire an employee, and when they come on, you're like, oh, employees are terrible. They don't want to do a good job. Nobody can do it as good as I can, right? So these are all the things. Now, we're not talking about these things. We're talking about AI specifically because I wanted to say, hey, what the problem is, why people can't get AI into their business, right? So the problem in most businesses is the founder. Yeah, you're the problem. I'm the problem. Because we don't even know what we don't know. So anytime there a problem come up, it's going to keep lingering into the business until we figure out how to solve it, until we understand how to solve it. And that solving it can be hiring somebody or getting somebody to come in and help you solve the problem. Whatever that way is, I'm just naming multiple ways. You don't have to be the person that comes up with the answer, but you have to be the way that comes up with the method of solving it, right? But going back to AI, what happens is that most people have no documentation, no ownership, no standards, and no process for their business. Now, what does each one of these mean? No documentation. You don't have anything written down. You don't have a process written down. You don't have the systems written down, right? You don't have any one of these have no ownership. Nobody owns this process. Who's responsible for making sure the phones get answered the right way? Who has that process documented? There's no standards. How do we answer the phone every time? And Chick-fil-A is the standard of, hey, my pleasure, right? That's a standard. You must say that, to somebody when you're helping them, right? And I use that phrase, my pleasure, because it's very easy to understand the standard. When you go into Chick-fil-A, I'm not a Chick-fil-A person, but when we used to, we would take the ladies out for lunch every month, and they would want to go to Chick-fil-A. And they would be like, let's go to Chick-fil-A. And then you'd always see, and I would see their process. I enjoyed watching the process of how they move people through the line of improvements that I've seen in their process, continuous improvement. One of the most biggest improvements that I saw was when you come through the line, is most drive-throughs of any kind of fast food restaurant, the people are hanging out the window. But Chick-fil-A, what they did was they opened the door where the people could literally walk out from behind there and give you your stuff. So it was no barrier. Instead of you having to come out through the front, go through a door, and then bring them if you mess up their order or something like that. So I thought that was just ways of you continuing the process, right? Improving the process. The process is where you don't have a process. And we're going to talk about refinement, continuing improvement, and everything. When you have no process, you don't have a documented way from start to finish how it's supposed to go each time. Examples of a process. I'm gonna talk about a sales process where you don't have a sales process. Now there's process for finances, there's process for marketing, there's processes for your client delivery. I'm gonna give you an example with a sales process because I think that's the easiest one. A lead comes into your business. You qualify that lead. You send the lead a proposal. You book the lead and then you deliver, right? So you book it, you close it. And each one of these processes, this is an easy, simplified sales process. Now, in this sales process, every process goes through three things. Either everything goes correctly. So this goes correctly. The lead comes in, they get qualified, you send a proposal, they book your service, they deliver. Now, most times everything is not gonna go perfectly, right? The lead's gonna come in, they're not even gonna fill out the form, right? They may you just might have their name and email, whatever it is. They qualify. Then they don't give you enough information to give them a proposal. You get a proposal, they don't book right away. Then they book, then you have all these things that have to go through when you deliver, to going from delivery to booking, from booking to delivery. So again, with your process, you have three things. You have everything goes correctly. You have what we call a detour in the process. So any one of these can have a detour and then they exit. Those are the three things that can happen. So everything goes perfect. A detour is the lead comes in and you don't get to qualify them, right? They for whatever reason, they don't get to qualify. What do you do if you can't qualify them, right? What do you do if you can't qualify them? And I'm going to go through an easier one, which is proposal to book, right? Because in that is a lot of detours that go on there and exit. So you send them the proposal. Now, they don't book right away. They say, hey, let me look at it. Let me think back. Do you follow up? How many times do you follow up? What do? Then the exit is that I followed up 5 times. I called them 3 times. They weren't on a list. And then so we're out of the sales process and we put them in somewhere else, right? Long-term nurture or something like that. So I wanted to say that because this is the process. Of course, a process is detailed, but you want to think about in any process, what if everything goes perfect? What happens if there's a detour? They don't do what I want them to do. And what's the exit, right? We've said, hey, you know what? They're not going to do what we want them to do. We're going to put them somewhere else. We're not going to focus our attention on that anymore. All right. So that's the example. Now, I want to go back to the correct sequence of any of this is to build your process. Build out this process. Document this process. That means to write it down. What does it look like? A lot of business owners, everybody has a process. In reality, everybody has a process, but it's in your head. And when it's in your head, you wing it sometimes because every time you make it hard on yourself because you have a variable. So you can't be winging it. That's why you want to document that process. And now when you document it, you can actually have numbers to look back and say, hey, how can I improve this process? I see that when I say, my pleasure, it doesn't resonate with people, whatever that is, right? And then you can improve that process. Then you can automate that process. Automate doesn't mean machines. Automate means that it happens the same way. When somebody says, thank you for so much, my pleasure. That's automatic. That's what automate means. I automate the response of it happening. Then you refine it, right? You're looking at it, you're like, oh, okay, we see it. So after they say thank you, we say my pleasure. Okay, no, after they say to thank you, we say my pleasure. I'm just, whatever that is. And then you can scale. Now, I put this scale down here. Most businesses do not need to be thinking about scale. Scale needs to, I hear this word so much and I'm really against it for most small businesses because you don't even need to be thinking, I want to scale my business. I'm like, yo, fam, you don't even have documentation in there. You don't even have an organized process. You can't even think of, this is so far down the road that you don't even be thinking about that. By the time you're ready to scale, believe me, you'll be able to call the people in place. Your books will be fine. Everything you need will come in place when you're ready to scale. A lot of people are such a long way off of scaling that they don't even need to be thinking about scaling right now. All right. The next thing is that chaos with AI just equals faster chaos. Okay. What you hear, if you hear people talking about AI slop, what AI slop is that you put in a bunch of information, hoping to get something out. AI just spits out any random thing, whatever it thinks that you need to have. It just comes out AI slop. And that's what happens, right? So you need to be able to make sure you have systems in place. Then you have AI. Then you can talk about scaling. And I put that there because that's what you need. But to get systems in place is a long process. It's not overnight. It doesn't happen over a day, because even when you get the systems in place, you have to, systems to put in there, documentation, processes, SOPs, those are not the hard things to get out. Where the hard part is, that's not the hard part of putting your business. The hard part is adaptation. You adapting to it, your team adapting to it, understanding the workflows, making sure you have the cadence there to refine it. That is the hard part about putting systems in place. It's not the actual system, right? It's not saying, hey, you know what, we have to have a system in place that we need to document. Yeah, we can document it. Yeah, we can do the processes. But do you have adaptation? Do you, as the business owner, because anybody who's ever put systems and documentation in place and they go ahead and go from winging it to actually running by systems, it's a very hard transition. All right. A lot of times when you don't have systems in place, you, the founder, still the problem, the bottleneck, the person that stops everything, because all decisions become through you. Example, customer has a problem. They say the employee doesn't know the answer. They go to the founder, you need to go to the system. The system needs to be making the decisions, but that has to come back through documentation, processes, and systems. All right. So we always want to ask key questions about this. Who's responsible for this process? What's happening in this process? When does this process need to happen? Why is this process happening? And how does it happen? How is the SOPs of it? We'll talk about that in another video, but just thinking about the SOPs of your process. But just documenting your process, understanding it, defining it, you'll be there. Leave off with this. Everything you need to be doing in your business is defining what happens. Define the process. What does it look like? Document the process. Then you can delegate the process. Delegating means to AI, automation, employees, delegating that process, getting it off your plate. All right. Anyways, process before AI. That's what I want you to be thinking about. Think about process before AI. If you start documenting the process in your business, you start working through it, this is the hump that people don't want to go over. It's a lot of work, but on that other work, on that other side is freedom, because then your business can run without you. Then you can take 2 weeks off and you can see, my business can run without me. Then you can start implementing AI and you start seeing that it's putting out the right outputs. It's doing the right thing. All right. Hope this was valuable for you, man. Stay focused, stay blessed. See you in the next video. Peace.